Okay, we're on the record in People versus Taylor Smith, case number LA058904. Both counsel are present. The defendant is present. Are all of our potential jurors waiting outside?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring them in one by one.
Because of the current situation we are in with COVID-19, there's a situation about your badges. So you received the jury summons to come here today. On your jury summons, there's a part that has your jury information. It's very important. That's going to be the sum of your badge. So I need you to attach or separate the badge from the summons. And once you've done that, right here on this back is an individual clip that you can just put on the back of your badge. And after you put your, basically you have a self-contained badge. So this is your clip that you can attach to your whatever you have, your lapel, shirt, and that's how you can enter the courtroom. And that's how you can walk around the building as a juror. So that witnesses, judges, whoever sees you knows that you are in fact a juror on this case. All right, so please get your attachment here, and when you finish with the summons that you ripped off, just put it in here. Right. Once you finish with getting your badge together, put the summons, jury summons in there, and I will return in a second. I have to talk to the judge for a second, but we'll be right back, sir. Thank you. I'm just coming out to tell you that we have hand sanitizer here for you if you want to keep your hands clean after putting on your badges. And I think we're just about ready to go otherwise. Juror number one, could you follow me? And 2313. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you walk up to the second to last row?
Okay. This is all 13? Great. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to Department S. I am Judge Michael Jessic, and you've all been sent here for a criminal trial. First thing I want to do is make some introductions and introduce you to the people that you're going to be seeing and some of the names that you're going to be hearing in this case. First person I want to introduce you to is someone I think you just met outside, my judicial assistant, Brandon Green. He's sort of the boss around here. He controls pretty much all aspects of the day-to-day life in this courtroom. He has 1,000 different duties, one of which, for those of you who stay, will be swearing in all of our witnesses. He also swears in all of our potential jurors. So if I can get you all to stand up so you can take your oath.
Please raise your right hands. Understand and agree that you will accurately and truthfully answer, under penalty of perjury, all questions propounded to you concerning your qualifications and competency to serve as a trial juror in the matter pending before this court. And if you're to do so, is subject to criminal prosecution? I do. Please be seated.
Okay, the next person I want to introduce you to is my court reporter, Leanna Rossell. She is the person who's furiously typing right now. Her job is to make sure that everything that's said in this courtroom while we're on the record is put into the record. So that one day, if someone wants to look at what happened in this trial, there's a record of it. What's really important when we're talking about Leanna and her job is she is probably one of the best court reporters in the entire county. Very fast, can keep up, but she's only so fast. And she can only take down what she can hear. The basic rule is, if she didn't type it, it wasn't said. So what's really important is when you speak, and each of you will get a chance to speak to at least give us your most basic information, that you speak as clearly as possible, especially because we're all wearing masks. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through this process. But I see everyone's wearing a mask. you need to make sure we're doing that in the building, and especially in the courtroom while you're wearing a mask. Some of these masks can muffle your voice. So what I'm going to ask you to do is please keep your voices up as much as possible, especially juror number 8. As we get to your seat, it's almost impossible to hear you even without a mask. So just keep your voice nice and loud so Leanna can hear everything you're saying. Please speak as slowly as you can so that she can take down everything that you're saying. All right, the next person is my bailiff, Deputy Brown. You can see him, he's over there. He's easy to spot. He's the one wearing the badge and has the gun. He's obviously here for courtroom security. But he's also what I like to refer to as your liaison to the court. Meaning, if you have any questions about anything, I'm going to ask you to refer those questions to Deputy Brown. I don't want you guys just running up to him on the break saying, hey, I got a quick question. I definitely don't want you asking any questions of me and of the attorneys. And I'll tell you why that is, and the reason why it's so important that you go to Deputy Brown on everything. If you have a question about something and someone sees you talking to me, and it could be just, hey, what time are we supposed to come back? I forgot. Or you're in the hallway and you see the attorneys, and you walk up to one of them and you ask them a question about the trial or something as simple as, are we supposed to be back at 10 or 10:30? Well, nobody knows if you're talking about a simple question or you're talking about something that has to do with the trial. What ends up happening is that someone sees it, they report it to us, or the attorneys are going to come and tell me, hey, I had this encounter with one of the jurors. We have to have a full hearing. Bring in everybody in earshot just to find out that you guys asked a question about the weather or about timing. So it's easier if you have no contact with the attorneys at all, and I'm going to order you not to, I've ordered them not to have any contact with you. If you happen to see them in an elevator and you say hello, and I know a lot of you want to say hello because you're all nice people and it's, you know, you're going to see each other every day, they're probably going to have this very surprised look on their face. They may scream and run the other way. And that's just because I've ordered them not to have any contact with you. What's really important with that also is in not having contact with the attorneys and only having contact with the bailiff is please, you'll have your juror badges. Please make sure your juror badges are all visible at all times so everybody knows who's who when we're walking in the hallways or we're in the elevators, because the attorneys may be talking to a witness about the case. They don't want to do that in front of you. If they don't see a juror badge, they may not recognize you. Okay, so, but the bottom line is if you have questions about anything, please refer to or talk to Deputy Brown about the questions, and please wait for him to come outside to do that. Let me introduce the parties in this case. The defendant in this case is Taylor Smith. He is represented by attorney Neethu Badan Smith.
Good morning. I'm Neethu Badan Smith, and this is my client, Mr. Taylor Smith.
And he is also being assisted by a certified Spanish language interpreter. That interpreter today is Romina Edber. The people are represented by Deputy District Attorney Sheethal Jalla.
Good morning, I'm Sheethal Jalla.
And let me briefly read to you the potential witnesses in this case, which is Detective Stephen Jones from the Los Angeles Police Department, Officer Lisa Thompson from the Los Angeles Police Department, and Pat Johnson. Now that I've introduced everyone and read you the names of the witnesses, is there anyone here who recognizes any of the people I've introduced or any of the names that I've read out? Okay, I see no one raising their hands. There's going to be times when either I'm going to ask you questions like that as a group to raise your hands. The attorneys, when they ask you questions, may ask a question just as the entire group. It's sometimes a lot faster to do it that way. If you're asked a question like that and you raise your hand, the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is keep your hand up until I call out your number. Especially for those of you who've done jury duty before, normally we would have everybody here in the box, all 12 seats. We'd have people maybe in one section of the courtroom, and it's very easy to know who's answering questions. Because you're so spread out, we need to know who's answering those questions. It's for the attorney's benefit, so they know who's answered yes to those questions, and also so that my court reporter knows who just answered the question, who had their hand raised, because that's not obviously visible in a transcript. So just keep your hands up until I actually call out your number. All right. As I mentioned, this is a criminal case, and I'm going to read you the charges in this case, and this is what's called an information. An information tells you what the charges are. It gives you a brief description of what the people have to prove in this case. It's not really the elements of the case, but it tells you what they have to prove. What it's not is evidence. Nothing I read to you is evidence at this point. All the evidence you're going to hear is from the witness stand and from documentation. A certain documentary evidence that you're going to get during this case, and anything else I tell you is evidence. And the reason I'm saying this is I've had jurors before who I've read the information, the charges, and they say, well, you've already told me what the defendant did. Why do we need to be here? No, this is just the charges. The people need to prove these charges beyond a reasonable doubt. And we'll get into those details a little bit later during this process. But this is simply what the defendant is charged with. And the information states that on or about November 11th, 2018, in the County of Los Angeles, the crime of second-degree robbery in violation of Penal Code Section 211 was committed by Taylor Smith, who did unlawfully and by means of force or fear take personal property from the person, possession, or immediate presence of Pat Johnson. It is further alleged that the defendant personally used a firearm in the commission of the offense. All right. The defendant has entered a plea of not guilty to that charge, and that's why we're here for trial. Now the big question, the time estimate in this case. I know that a lot of you are worried about that. That's your biggest concern. How long, if I'm chosen for this jury, am I going to have to be here? Let me start off by saying this is a felony. We have felonies, we have misdemeanors, and we have civil cases. Misdemeanors generally take maybe about a week. Felonies usually a week to 2 weeks, sometimes longer, depending not the seriousness of the case, but the complexity of the case. Civil trials can go months. Now you're all lucky because there's no civil trials going on right now because of the situation we're in with the pandemic. They're not going to start up till probably January. But you're lucky that you're here, that you're not having to deal with a 3-month-long civil trial. For those of you who don't want to be in a long trial, let me ask you, who volunteered to be here today? Who didn't get a summons in the mail, ask you to come here today? Yeah, nobody. Nobody volunteers for jury duty. You get a summons in the mail and you have to go, and it's very disruptive to your life. I get it. I'm not thrilled when I get my summons, and I get one almost every single year, and I go down for a day and I don't get chosen. I'm not sure why. But I know how hard it is. I know financially for most of you, very few people get paid for jury duty anymore. It's just the way things are being done now. I don't think it's right, but it's what we have to deal with. I can promise you, if you look to the left and look to your right, to the person on either side of you or behind you, that person, trust me, has every reason, as much as your reason, not to want to be here because of financial reasons, for child care reasons, for elder care reasons, because they'd rather be at the beach. The problem is we couldn't have this system unless we had people who were willing to come in and serve on juries. The time estimate on this case is 5 to 6 days, including today. So that's including jury selection. So this is a relatively shorter trial. That doesn't mean that taking 5 or 6 days out of your life to come here is easy, but it's better than some of the other potential trials that you could have. Now, here's kind of the bigger issue. We're doing these trials, we're just opening up for trials now for the first time since March. That was the last time, I believe, that we were really doing trials here in Los Angeles County. when things started shutting down because of the pandemic. For many of you, this is the first time that you are spending any real time in public. Maybe not all of you, but some of you. And I want to tell you that I always tell my jurors this: I have two responsibilities in every trial that I take very, very seriously. One, that both sides get a fair trial. And there's nothing that is more important than that. Two, that I get you back to your normal lives as soon as possible. Because I know that some of you are missing work or really having a tough time being here. Well, this is now a third one that I've never had to deal with before in my career, which is getting you in and out of here safely. And it's a real concern. It's a concern for me. I know it's a concern for you. And I have to tell you that I am unbelievably proud of LA Superior Court, the leadership here, and what they've done to set this up in a way that we can still do these trials and get back to, this isn't normal. This isn't even close to normal. But to get to a point where we can do these trials safely. And I want to go through some of the stuff that we've done. When I say we, I'm part of the Superior Court, but trust me, there's a lot of people smarter than me who've been working on this to really do this right. Who set up these protocols that we can all follow to keep you safe. Safe not only health-wise, but mentally. That you can come in here and feel every day that, okay, I'm going to be safe going through this trial. I'm going to spend my 5 or 6 days here, and I'm going to go back to my family and not have to worry that I'm going to get sick. So that physically and mentally, we can have you feel secure over the next 5 or 6 days that you're going to be here. As you can see, for any of you who've been on jury duty before, we don't normally space you out like this. This is the jury box. It seats 14 people. Everybody has their own seat. We generally have 2 alternates who are going to sit in the alternate seats, and that's where everybody is. It makes life very easy for the attorneys to be able to speak to you, for me to know where you are. We can't do that. We want to make sure you're at least 6 feet apart. So as you can see, we spaced everyone out wherever you were sitting. This has been done not by me, but by engineers who've come in here, and they've measured out specifically to make sure that we have social distance in this courtroom. As you can see out in the hallway, and this is going to be important because there's going to be times where you're going to be waiting in the hallway, and I'm going to ask that whenever we come back to court, that you always stay in the hallway, in between on breaks or in the morning, every time that we leave and come back until we actually bring you in one at a time. And again, that's to make sure that you guys are safe. One, we're not going to bring you in until you're all here. And 2, that way we can bring you in one at a time so that we can keep that social distance. While you're in the hallway's marked off. So that when you're out there, you know where if you're standing or sitting in a certain spot, that you're a good distance away from the next person next to you. And I'm going to ask you guys to please just pay attention to those markers. And I'll tell you this. Some of you are very, very concerned about the situation that we're in. Some of you may not be. We have people who think that this is not very serious and we're overblowing it. We have people who think that nobody should be leaving their house, and everyone in between. If you're not as concerned, please be respectful of people who are, and them not being comfortable with you being closer. If someone is close to you, look, we're not a perfect world. If all of a sudden, we're not paying attention and we shift over a foot or 2, and you feel someone's closer to you, just nicely ask them, if you can't move, just ask them nicely if they would mind just taking a couple steps back. Please don't confront each other. We're all stressed out. We're all stressed out during this period. If there really is an issue, I need you to take it to my bailiff and talk to Deputy Brown, and we'll get everything resolved. Same thing goes with the masks. We have to wear the masks while we're in this building. Some people are more sensitive about the mask, and whether we should be, shouldn't be, this is the rule we have for the Superior Court, and it's for your safety and protection. And so we're gonna ask that whenever you're in the building, you always have your mask on. Now, is there gonna be a time where something is bothering you that you have to pull your mask off for a second to wipe your face or something? Of course that's gonna happen. That doesn't mean we leave it off. We put it back on. And that doesn't mean that if we're someone else, we see someone pull off their mask for a second and wipe their face and pull it back on, that we don't panic and we don't yell at them. And again, if this is a situation that's more than that, please let my bailiff know, and then we'll deal with that, okay? You can see in the courtroom, there's plexiglass everywhere. Sometimes I feel like I'm in a hockey penalty box. This is obviously for your safety and security, and we're not only dealing with your safety and security, we're dealing with the attorney's safety and security, the defendant's safety and security, our witnesses' safety and security. This is all so everybody can feel nice and safe and be safe. It's not just about the feeling of being safe. This is to minimize any chance that that we could spread this virus. In the elevators, you've seen signs. There's signs all over the building which tell you about keeping socially distant, wearing your masks, where to stand in the elevator. We're going to give you longer breaks. Normally we'd take like a 15, 20-minute break in between sessions. We're probably going to take closer to half-hour sessions for two reasons. One, and this is not counting lunch. Lunch is usually about an hour and a half. We want you to be able to go outside, go get some fresh air. If you're away from someone and you want to take your mask off for a second to get some air, we want to give you that opportunity. The second thing is that we can't start until every single one of you is here. And getting up the elevators is not going to be the easiest thing, because we can only, with the public elevators, I believe it's 4 to an elevator, and it actually tells you where to stand. And I'm going to ask you to please pay attention to those signs so that we're keeping social distance when we're in the elevators, okay? We have hand sanitizers everywhere. If someone needs hand sanitizers, please let me know. We will get you hand sanitizer, or at least get some for you temporarily so that you can use it. And I'll tell you this, we've taken so much care, because this is so important to us, that we be able to do, especially in criminal court right now, that we be able to do these trials. That how many of you have gone, just by show of hands, how many of you have gone to the grocery store since March? Okay, most of you. I'm not going to call out your numbers. We put ourselves in situations as we have to go to the grocery store. I can promise you that this is what we've done here to keep you safe is safer than any trip you've taken to the grocery store. And my guess is all of you, I know I do, I feel very comfortable going to the grocery store the way things are set up and doing our grocery shopping. Okay? Because I know a lot of you are saying to yourselves right now, why are we doing this? Why do we have to do a trial during a pandemic? This doesn't make any sense. I don't want to do jury duty when we're not in a pandemic, and now you're making me do jury duty during a pandemic. This is ridiculous. I'll tell you this. We have had defendants sitting in custody since March, waiting for their trials. And I'm not talking about this case, but in general, we've had defendants sitting, waiting to get their day in court, to get their justice. We've had victims and victims' families who've been sitting at home, waiting for their day to go to court to get their justice. The right to a speedy trial is one of our fundamental rights. And to people who are really going through this, and if it was one of your loved ones who was going through this, you would want them to be able to get, whether it was a defendant who wanted to go get into court and get his day in court, and like I said, get his justice, or as a family member who wanted to see justice done, or at least wanted to be able to get closure and move on with their lives, which is impossible while things are in flux. You would understand how important this is that we do this. And like I said, we can't do this without people who are willing to come up and give 5 or 6 days out of their lives to stay with us, to make sure that the criminal justice system can keep going. We can't do this forever. And I know you guys would agree with me that we can't go on forever just delaying trials and hoping for a day when this is gone, because we don't know. We know this is going to end at some point. We hope we're going to have this vaccine, but we don't know if that's going to be in 5 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. And so we set up this protocol that we believe that we can start doing these trials in a very, very safe manner, because we have to. Because we have to. Justice demands that we go forward at this point. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that all of you are going to be able to stay with us. So what I'm going to do is, normally on a 5 to 6 day case, I generally wouldn't do hardships. These are different times. We have people who, because of health reasons, may not be able to stay with us, because of their kids. And trust me, I live the same lives you do. I'm no different than you guys. I have 2 kids who are sitting at home right now doing distance learning. My whole life, I feel, has been disrupted by everything, the same as yours. So I get it. Some of you have kids at home who are doing distance learning, and who knows who's taking care of them today, because you're here. We have people who have financial issues, who don't get paid, haven't been paid, have been furloughed or been off, and are finally getting back to work. There's a whole host of reasons. So I'm going to listen to those reasons and see if we can, if maybe this isn't the time for you to do jury duty. Maybe you'll get excused, but more than likely you're either going to stay with us or you're going to get postponed to another date when things are a little bit better. And we'll talk about that individually as we go through that process. But let me ask, because there are people who, one, don't have any problem with doing jury duty, who get paid by their employer to be here, and don't have any health concerns right now. So just by a show of hands, who here can stay with us for 5 to 6 days? Okay, just keep your hands raised. Juror number 1, juror number 2, juror number 3, juror number 6, juror number 10, and juror number 12. Okay, for those of you who just raised your hands, thank you very much. I'm going to excuse you now. You're going to come back. Today's Tuesday. We're going to come back on Thursday, because we're going to have to go through this process with some more jury panels till we get enough jurors to start the jury selection. And I don't want you just sitting in the hallway for the next 2 days while we go through that process. So I'm going to excuse you now. Go back to your normal lives. You're going to come back on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. When you come back, just wait outside. Same as we talked about, we'll bring you in as a group. And I anticipate that once we start on Thursday, we'll actually be doing the actual jury selection on that date. So thank you very much. For the rest of you, I'm going to ask you to step outside. Not yet. I'm going to ask you to step outside, and we're going to bring you in one by one, and I'm going to hear your, we're going to go through the hardship process to see what we're going to do next in terms of whether you're going to stay with us, be excused, or be postponed. What I'm going to ask you to do is, you've heard the names. I don't want anybody, you're going to be ordered, and this is the next thing I was going to do when we break, which is every time we take a break, I'm going to give you the same admonition, which is, do not talk about the case or about any of the people or any subject involved in it with anyone, including the other jurors. Do not make up your mind about the verdict or any issue until after you discuss the case with the other jurors during deliberations. So obviously when you're outside, I don't want you talking to each other about the case. Even as simple as, the judge said it's going to be 5 or 6 days. Do you really think it's going to be 5 or 6 days? Because as soon as someone sees you outside, you have an attorney walking by and sees you discussing something that has anything to do with the case, they come and alert me, hey, there's 2 jurors talking about the trial outside. Even though it had nothing to do with the actual trial, we have to have a full hearing. The same thing is, I know I mentioned some names. I don't know if you really memorized those names, but I'm going to ask you not to Google anything to do with the defendant or the case or anybody that I mentioned. No research outside of the courtroom. I'll have more admonitions before we start the trial that we'll go over in more depth. Right now, all you need to do is just come back on Thursday so that we can start with jury selection and keep that admonition in mind. So like I said, for those jurors who are coming back on Thursday, you are done. You're free to go for today. The other jurors, I'm going to ask you to wait outside, but Brandon is going to excuse you one by one. They're done. We're going to take, the people are going to do hardships, they're going to go outside and come back. The rest are excused, but I want to have them leave the courtroom one by one. Okay, all right, we're going to go ahead and do hardships now. Brandon, can you go ahead and have juror number 4 step in? Hi, juror number 4. I take it that you don't feel comfortable, there's a reason you can't stay with us. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and tell me what's preventing you from staying with us.
Well, first of all, my employer doesn't pay jury duty. I'm a food service worker, and I was laid off when the pandemic started. Although I did receive, CARES Act, and I did receive unemployment, but that ran out, so I'm not receiving that anymore. I did go back to work part-time at a restaurant that does takeout, so I'm not working a lot, but I'm afraid that if I take days off, either they'll fire me or I'll get laid off again, and have rent to pay. Car payments, so I don't have the income,
Okay, let me ask you this. So you were originally laid off from your other job, correct?
Well, I got laid off the first job because of the COVID.
Right. How long were you off work for that?
Like 2 months.
And when did you go back to, now with your part-time job that you have, when did you start doing that?
August 15th,
So recently?
recently.
Okay. They can't, your employer by law is not allowed to fire you for jury duty. But I can tell you're concerned about taking any days off because you've been off for so long. Counsel, did either one of you wish to be heard?
No, Your Honor.
You know what, I'm gonna go ahead and excuse you.
Thank you.
You've been off for too long, and I want you to just focus on working and not having to take the days off. So you're excused. Brandon's gonna give you a certificate for completion because you've completed your jury duty.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring in juror number 5.
Stand right here. Thank you.
Hi, juror 5.
Hello.
Okay. Go ahead and tell us what's giving you problems with serving jury duty right now.
Well, I think the biggest concern I have is I live with my elderly mother. She's 75, who's a cancer survivor, 5 years, but I do obviously have great concern that I could bring the virus home.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you working right now?
I am.
What do you do?
I'm an essential worker. I'm at the grocery store, at the deli.
How often are you working?
About 30 hours a week.
And do they pay for your jury duty? Do you know?
I don't know. I didn't think to look in the employee handbook or ask anyone, so.
With I'm not gonna tell you what you should worry about, what you shouldn't worry about. I'll tell you this, you're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, coming in and out of the grocery store, having to handle food packages that are given to you. I've been doing a lot of the grocery shopping, so I know in terms of how hectic it can be in there. I personally feel that this environment is much safer the way we have it set up than what you're dealing with at work. But I can't tell you how to be safe in terms of what's going to make you feel safer. The one thing I can do is I can offer you a postponement. We can postpone you for about 3 months. I don't think with you working and being exposed, by the time we get to December, it might be a totally different world. in terms of what we're dealing with. If the vaccine comes out, we may have a chance to postpone you again when we get to December, or you can do it now. When we come back in December, there's a chance that there's going to be other trials. It could be a much longer trial. I don't know. But I'm going to give you that option of postponing you. I'm not going to excuse you, but I'm not going to force you to stay right now. So what would you rather do? Would you rather stay with us, or would you rather get it postponed for 3 months?
I think I'd prefer the postponement and hope December's a little better with the virus or have a.
Okay, that's fair.
Vaccine.
All right, so Brandon's going to give you a postponement sheet. I need you to fill it out before you leave.
Okay.
So there's a room that's set up, and Brandon's going to show you exactly where to go to fill it out. We have 2 separate sets of pens in there. One's a clean set, one is a used set. So I'm just going to ask you to use the one from the clean set, and when you're done, just put it in the used cup, I guess we have in there. And then once you're done filling that out, just leave the sheet in there and you're free to go.
Okay, thank you.
And that'll give you dates to pick from
Okay.
in the future. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To request a postponement, you need to select 3 dates in the next 3 months when you are willing to serve. Looking at this calendar, please write down the 3 Mondays that work for you from the designated months. After you have completed the form, please leave it on the table. You will receive a new summons from our Jury Services Division. Please put your pen in the discard cup.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring in juror number 7.
Is that here, sir?
Hi, juror number 7.
Morning.
Go ahead and tell us what's concerning you about serving jury duty right now.
So I own a small business in Encino. It's a high-end memorabilia shop, but also a pawn shop. It's Encino Pawn. We're at Balboa and Ventura. Because of the downturn in the economy, I had to lay off all of my workers. I asked for a PPP loan. I didn't get it. I was able to bring one back because we were able to open recently. But I mean, my business is on the verge of collapse. I feel like, the government shut my business down. The government wouldn't give me a PPP loan, and now they want me to serve jury when my business is really on the edge of collapsing, and I have to support my family. And so I just don't think, as much as I know how important this all is, I just don't know if it's fair to ask me to have to serve on a jury even for these days. I mean, every day that I'm not there is a day that I'm going to lose sales, that my business might not be able to make it to the other side. And I just want to be able to support my family. That's all I'm asking.
Listen, everything you're saying is completely fair, and I get it. But let me ask you a few questions before we go to that next step. Is your store open right now?
It's open. We had some logistical problems to get it open, but it's open right now. We brought one worker back, one manager back, and
and let me ask you, is that manager there right now?
he is.
So it seems like the store can run when you're not there.
So I mean, here's the difference, because it's the equivalent of a pawn shop. When somebody comes in, he's not as good at me in terms of negotiating. I mean, look, can it stay physically open? Yes. Can it stay profitable? Can we cut the deals? I mean, I'm making calls when I'm there and getting people to come in, bring their memorabilia, trying to cut deals. It's hard times for other people. I can cut good deals with people if I'm there because of my negotiating skills. And he's just able to just kind of keep the store open, but he can't do what I can do.
How long has he been with you?
He's been with me for 6-7 years, something like that.
So I mean, he's got to be pretty familiar with the business at this point.
Like I said, he could do just the basics. He's a good worker. I mean, he knows the basics of how to open the store and keep it open and he can do the paperwork, but he can't run it like I can run it.
Okay, let me ask you this. This is, like we talked about earlier, this is uncharted water. So we're asking you to make sacrifices. We're going to make sacrifices. What if I gave the ability to take breaks if you get a text from your employee says, hey, I need to talk to you about something? What if we took a 5-minute break to give you a chance to go call them on the phone to see if you can deal with whatever you need to deal with from time to time? Would that help out the situation?
I mean, that's great. I mean, that seems fair and everything, but the problem is that I mean, my business is right on the edge. In a normal situation, that would seem like a good way to try and fix the problem to me, but like right now, the way my mind is, like I feel like every day I'm not there, I'm right on the edge. I mean, I don't want to have to file bankruptcy. I don't want to have to do that, and I feel like we're a week or two away.
Okay, let me, are you the only one working in the family?
My wife works.
All right. So here's what I'm willing to do. I know you're just getting back up and running. I imagine this is probably, you're not getting a ton of business right now just because of the situation compared to normal. Is that fair to say?
It is. I mean, we've done a little conversion of some online stuff, which has helped a little bit to get a trickle back going, but it's not the same. We don't have the same walk-in. People are just desperate, but they're scared to walk in. So it's hard to get them to come in with their memorabilia and sell it or do that kind of stuff. So yeah, to answer long answer to your question, yes.
Okay, and I assume, I'm just assuming because I know a little bit about the memorabilia business, but not obviously as much as you do. I assume that the online stuff, this doesn't really affect your ability to do the online business.
That's correct. It is a smaller part of our business. We're trying to get into it because we were walk-in. This was a way for us. We converted it. We had a website, but we didn't really have a kind of an online transactional deal. And we've started that, but that's just, like I said, a trickle starting now. It's building, but it's not.
Sure.
It hasn't brought us to where we need to go.
So how about this? What I can do is I can postpone your jury duty so that you'll get a little bit of time to get the business back up and running. When we come back in 3 months, hopefully you can get more employees hired up, you can get squared away. Would you rather do that, get postponed?
That'd be great, Your Honor. I mean, Judge, I'd really appreciate that. That would really save me.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you a postponement. Brandon's gonna give you a sheet of paper to fill out.
Thank you, Judge. Save me on this. I appreciate it.
Of course, good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Here you go, sir. Stand here at the microphone.
Good morning, jury.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Can you go ahead and tell us what the situation you're having right now that's making it difficult for you to stay with us for jury duty?
Yes. So I'm currently a neurosurgeon at USC County Hospital. I'm mostly working the ER shift and the late night shift. Most of my patients, unfortunately, don't have the opportunity to be pre-tested for COVID. So I'm in contact with a lot of patients who may or may not have COVID. I get tested almost every 3 days. And it's been a little bit difficult to get the time off from the scheduling at the county hospital.
How many patients are you seeing a day?
It averages between 50 to 60.
Okay, so it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you're saying that when they come in, they're not tested already for COVID?
Yes, because it's in the urgent care room, sometimes they come straight from the ambulance and they don't have the opportunity to get tested before I come in contact with them.
But you are tested every day?
Every 3 days.
Every 3 days?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of getting time off, is your employer paying for jury duty?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm tempted to just have you stay with us, but I also don't want to take a neurologist out of the mix during this time. So this is what I'm willing to do. I can give you a postponement for 3 months into December, and hopefully the situation is much better. It looks like it's trending down in terms of patients. So hopefully when we get to December, there's always the hope that things will be much better. We may have a vaccine. If not, you could still get a postponement at that point, but the fact that you're getting paid, I'm not going to excuse you, but I will give you a postponement. Would you rather get this postponed?
Yes, I would prefer the postponement.
Okay. Brandon's going to go ahead and give you a sheet to fill out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Come this way, sir.
Okay, let's bring in juror number 9. Good morning, juror number 9.
Morning.
Can you go ahead and tell us what the situation you're having right now that's making it difficult for you to stay with us for jury duty?
Well, it's just a fear. I don't, coming up in the elevator, even though there's 4 spots, 5 people got in on one floor, and I don't know how often the place is cleaned and all that. So I don't know, if this is a criminal case, if a person's in jail and they're in close quarters, that I don't feel I should be in the same room with.
Well, let me ask you this. One, let me allay your fears a little bit. The courtroom is cleaned at every break, or at least before we start, at the lunch break, and then at the end of the evening. It's fully cleaned. We purposely set you aside. I went through the whole thing. I don't want to go again through everything because I know you're listening in terms of the social distancing we have and people being away from each other. I see you have both a mask and a shield on. So you should be pretty well protected while you're here, but I can't tell you how to feel. It's your feeling.
Right.
Do you think that with all the precautions that we've already taken, that you still don't feel comfortable sitting as a juror?
Well, I don't, like, what are you going to do when we do like a deliberation or anything? Are we all going to be put in a room?
No.
I mean, we may be separated here, but what about in a jury room?
So the way jury deliberation is going to happen is it's going to happen in this courtroom. And so we're going to be in a situation where, just like you are now, although you don't have to sit in the exact same seat you have, you can even spread out more. We just don't want you getting any closer. But the jury deliberations will go on in this courtroom, and we'll just make sure the courtroom's secure so nobody's coming in and out while you're doing deliberations. If it turns out that we don't do it here, in this courtroom, we will have a room big enough that, trust me, you will never be put in a situation where you are less than 6 feet apart from someone. You'll always be at least 6 feet or more away from someone.
Well, is there a way that you could do it with fewer jurors so that I feel safer?
That we can't do. We're required to have in a criminal case 12 jurors, and you need unanimous verdicts in criminal cases. So that we can't. There's stuff we can change. There's stuff we can't change. That's one thing that we can't change.
I mean, I'm all in favor of people serving. I run the HR at my company. I give people time off for jury duty, and I'm happy to do it in 2022. But not, I just don't feel safe right now.
Well, let me ask you this: so you're working?
Yes,
Are you working from home or are you in the office?
I telecommute.
Okay. I was talking to the jurors, all of you, earlier about going to the grocery store, and I can't remember, just about everyone raised their hands. I don't remember if you raised your hand.
I did not.
Okay. Are you having stuff delivered to your home?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I have, you never know what they're going to find out tomorrow is going to be a problem. So, we know what they're saying today, it's safe. I don't know, and I have a new grandchild. I don't want to, be in any place where I could, be affected. I got the summons, so I'm here, but I would rather not be.
So let's do this. What I can do is I can give you a postponement. If you're saying that you feel more comfortable doing it at a later date, I can postpone you for about 3 months for right now. There's a chance at the end of the 3 months, if you still need another postponement, that we can do that. But let's see in 3 months. We could be in a totally different world. Now, just understand, when you come back, it may not be a 5 to 6 day trial. It may be a 2 to 3 week trial. So as long as you understand that every time you come back, it could be a shorter trial, it could be a longer trial. But do you still want to go ahead and postpone it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Brandon's going to give you a document to fill out that has dates on it. We just need you to pick a new date to come back.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Hi, juror number 11. How are you?
Good, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you go ahead and tell us what issues you're having or concerns you have that are preventing you from staying with us for jury duty?
Given the time you said we're going to be here, it seems to me a couple of months ago I was diagnosed as COVID positive and I had to stay home, and it cost me a lot of time, not so much from work, but just not being able to do my regular routine. And since that time, I had a lot of the symptoms and the coughing and diarrhea and whatnot. I lost some weight, and I haven't got up to full speed yet.
And I'm really sorry to hear that you had it. I'm glad that you've gotten past it. But it's, you're someone who's had to go through this firsthand, so you more than anyone understands what it's like going through this. But let me ask you, how many months ago was it that you had it, that you tested positive?
I tested positive in July, and I was out from most of July and part of August.
the symptoms that you're having, what symptoms are you still dealing with, or are those the symptoms you dealt with up to this point?
Well, now it's more just a lot of lethargy. I'm tired all the time. I get to my afternoon naps, which at my age I enjoy, but it's not something that I can do for a full day all the time.
And are you back to work right now?
I am back to work, and you know, work is enjoyable, but I don't do full days now. I'm able to work my schedule.
So we're going to take regular breaks, and we're going to take longer breaks, like I said. Your day's usually going to start about 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll go till about 11, take a break, go till 12, take a long break. In the afternoon, we'll come back at 1:30, take another break around 3 o'clock, and then usually stop anywhere between 4 and 4:30. So in terms of your schedule, it shouldn't be too taxing on you.
Okay.
This is what I want to do. Would you be willing that if you start feeling that you're getting really tired and you're having a hard time concentrating, would you be willing to just raise your hand and let us know that you're feeling that way?
I think I could do that. And if I fall asleep at lunch and I don't come back, can somebody call me and try and wake me up because I'll be in my car or something?
If you give us your cell phone and you want us to be your alarm clock, we'll do that. You're doing a lot to be with us, and so we'll do our part too.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to stay with us.
Okay.
At least through this process. Doesn't mean you're going to be one of the jurors selected, but I want you to stay through the jury selection process. So you're going to be free to go right now, and come back on Thursday at 10 o'clock. Same thing like I explained is stay outside until we bring you in. Make sure you're keeping socially distant. As soon as we're ready, Brandon will bring you in one by one. Remember my admonition I gave you earlier. And other than that, thank you. We'll see you on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Juror 13.
Good morning.
Can you go ahead and tell us what the situation you're having right now that's going to make it difficult for you to stay with us for jury selection and for the trial?
So I have something similar to what you had mentioned earlier. I have 2 kids at home. So I just don't know how I'm going to be able to come back here at all. It's just me with the 2 kids, and they're going to school at home.
Who's with the kids right now while you're here?
So it took a lot of effort. The dad's not around, so and I can't get help, like pay for help. So I had someone that I know, my family member, come stay with them today, but she has her kids, she has work, so she got her mom to watch her kids for the day and take time off work. So all this can happen today, but I don't think it can all happen again tomorrow or for a week.
Okay, if you stayed with, what you're saying is if you stayed with us every day, you would have to find someone to stay with the kids.
Yeah, she already told me that she could do maybe till tomorrow, but probably not the rest. Like when you said a week or so, I don't think she's gonna do that.
Okay. All right, this is what I'm gonna do, because that's a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and postpone you. I'm not gonna excuse you at this time, but I am gonna postpone you, and then hopefully, when we come back, well, it's your choice actually. Let me ask you, would you rather be postponed at this time?
See, I was wondering how long that is, because I don't know when my kids go back to school.
Well, it's gonna be 3 months. There's specific dates that are on the postponement form that you're gonna fill out.
Okay, because I don't think they'll be back in class in 3 months.
They're here in Los Angeles?
Yeah, LAUSD.
So, LAUSD, it sounds like by then they're gonna be back in school. If they're not back in school, I'm pretty sure that you can get another postponement at that time or get excused at that time if you don't have a postponement.
Can you get a postponement by phone so I don't have to come back in?
Brandon, do you know the answer to that?
I'm not aware of what happens when you call in telephonically. My understanding is they at least want you to make an appearance in court.
So this is what I'm going to tell you is we have a phenomenal website, the Superior Court website. So I'm going to ask you to go to the website. When you got your jury summons, there should be a website address on there that'll answer all your questions in terms of postponement. In the past, yes, you could go on and you could get a postponement. You could do everything by mail or by computer. I don't know what's going on right now because everything's changing. So you just need to go on the website and check and see what you can do. I know you could in the past. I don't have an answer, and I don't want to give you bad advice.
You said I have a choice, so what's the alternative?
Oh, the choice is you stay with us and just kind of spend 5 or 6 days with us. You may get selected, you may not get selected.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing, just to let you know, and I've told the other jurors the same thing, which is when you come back, again, you may be able to get a postponement, but eventually, if you stay with us, you could end up being here on a month-long jury trial versus a 5 to 6 day trial. You may get a shorter, not too many shorter cases in 5 to 6 days, but there are cases that take a long time, so you're kind of taking that chance.
So there's no just not doing it?
With the situation you have with the kids,
Okay.
it's a temporary situation.
Okay.
And that situation is they're going to go back to school, and hopefully when they're back in school, then it'll open it up for you to come and do your jury duty.
So I know for next time, if my work doesn't pay for me to be here too, is that?
Yeah, unfortunately, very few places are paying. And so if it was a trial that was going to be 3 to 4 weeks, actually 2 to 3 weeks, I would look at that and go over all your finances and see, is this a true financial hardship? But with a 5 to 6 day case, I'm not going to excuse you for that at this time.
Okay.
Okay? But
Okay.
would you rather do the postponement?
Yes, please.
Okay. So Brandon has a sheet he's going to have you fill out
Okay.
that has dates on it. So I need you to look and pick a new date for your postponement.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Brandon, is that the last of the jurors?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, the next panel's coming in at 1:30, so we're going to be in recess until 1:30, and we'll start the process all over. Okay, thank you.